ladies and gentlemen, so in this section you're going to learn how to factor a quadratic equation in order to find its roots. You've done a lot of factoring. Some of you will remember how to do this. For others of you, this will be a refresher. And then the last part of it will be setting those factors equal to 0 to actually find the roots or the x-intercepts of the quadratic equation. All right, so you'll see that along the left side of the screen will be the steps, and along the right side of the screen you'll see those steps applied to this problem. So if we start with an equation like you see at the top, 2x squared minus 6x equals 15 plus x, that equation is not in standard form. So we have to subtract x from both sides. So when we subtract x from both sides, then we have a negative 7x, and then we need to subtract 15 from both sides, so we have a negative 15. We're left with a 0 on this side. So the equation that we can proceed with is 2x squared minus 7x minus 15 equals 0. Now, to use the box method, you may remember that you create a box and then you put the first and last terms of the equation as written in standard form into the first and last boxes. So please put those values into those catty corner boxes. Next, you take these two values and you multiply them. So multiply the two values that you just placed in the box. So in this case, when we do that multiplication, we get a negative 30x squared. Next, we need to do as it says in part C on the left side. We need to find the factors of negative 30x squared that add up to the middle term of our quadratic equation. So our goal on this particular problem is to factor negative 30x squared and come up with a sum of negative 7x from those factors. So the first two factors we'll try will be 2x times 15x. So if we multiply 2x times 15x, we'll get negative 30x, so those are indeed factors. And if we add those two factors together, 2x and 15x, we get a negative 13x. That is not a negative 7x, so this is not going to be the factor pair that I want. So I'm going to try another set. If I try negative 2x and positive 15x, then that will, if I multiply those two, I will get the negative 30x squared, but when I add them, I'll get a positive 13. Again, I have not gotten the negative 7x that I'm looking for. So next, if I can multiply positive 3x times negative 10x and get my negative 30x squared. So that checks out. And if I add these two terms, I get negative 7x. Oh, ding, 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 we have a winner. So these are the two factors that I'm looking for. They multiply to the first term, and their sum is the middle term. So I need to place these two values in the boxes shown here. So I've placed those in the empty boxes as it says in part D. Then my next step is going to be to find the common factors of the column or row. So I need the greatest common factors of the column or row. So let's start here with let's start here with 2x squared and 10x. Well, clearly there's one x common to each of them, so I have an x term here, and I can factor a 2 out of this and a 2 out of that. So my greatest common factor is a positive 2x for these two terms. For these two, my greatest common factor is a 3. There's not an x term on both of them, so I can't factor out any x's there. Next, let's look at these two. They each have an x term, so I can factor an x term out. There is no common factor between the 2 and the 3, so x is all I can factor out. For these two terms below, there's no x factor, so I can't factor that out. However, negative 5 is a common factor for both negative 10x and negative 15. So what I was looking for are these numbers in red around the outside. I'm going to combine those into an equation. So I'm going to combine 2x plus 3 and x minus 5. And those two binomials, when we multiply them together, will be equal to 0. And they also, if you go backwards, will yield this equation at the top. So we've just factored 2x squared minus 7x minus 15 equals 0. We have factored that into the two binomials, 2x plus 3 times x minus 5. Now, in order to find the roots, we next will set each of these equations equal to 0. And we can do that because of the multiplicative property of 0. In order for these two factors to multiply together and give me 0, one or both of the binomials has to be equal to 0. So we set this one equal to 0 to find out what value of x would cause this statement to be true. And then we set this one equal to 0 to see what value of x would cause that one to be 0. So first let's solve the blue one. So it's not rocket science. We're just going to subtract 3 from both sides. Then our next step is going to be divide both sides by 2. So I have an x equals negative 3 over 2 as being a root, one root for this equation. Then on the other side, all I have to add for the green solution is I have to add 5 to both sides, and I get x equals 5. So to finish up, I'm going to state the roots of this quadratic equation as being negative 3 over 2, 0, and 5, 0. Those are the roots of this quadratic equation. All right, so now you can take a little bit of time to do some practice on this. You'll get a practice page to work on in class today. You will also have a short Canvas quiz that you'll need to do. So you're going to make sure that you're going to take the Canvas quiz that's called Topic 2 Part 3. So look for that Canvas quiz name. That Canvas quiz should be finished before you come to class next time. This will constitute one of your grades. This will be, these two Canvas quizzes will be your evidence scores, your first evidence score for the Learning Target 2.6. As soon as I look at Canvas after this lesson, if there are no scores for you in Canvas, then you'll have a 0 on this target. So we want to avoid that. You want to make sure that you're taking these Canvas quizzes so that you can get a nice high score on Learning Target 2.6. Thank you.